It already feels like the Pac-12 media has disrespected USC's offensive line.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Culkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you're watching me on YouTube or wherever you like to download your podcast, we are free. I really appreciate your support, and you can show your support for the show, it's a lot of S's in a row, by simply subscribing if you're watching on YouTube. It's easy. Hit that red subscribe button, and because it means a lot to the show, I mean a lot, hit that thumbs up, and Locked On USC comes at you 5 times a week. Hit the bell notification button, and you will not miss an episode. All right, so Pac-12 Media, they released its preseason all-conference teams. First team, second team, honorable mention. And the Trojans actually tied for the lead. They had 10 overall selections. Not bad. Half of them made first team. However, not one of those 5 are part of Caleb Williams' personal protection detail. Now, one of USC's offensive linemen landed on the first team. Now, I'm going to go over first team and second team here in just a moment. Center, Justin Dedich, second team. Tackle, Jonah Monheim. And guard, Jarrett Kingston. They were all named to preseason second team. Now, I don't think anybody will be surprised if any of those guys, in fact, if all 3 of those guys don't end up on the first team at the end of the year. In other words, when the postseason teams are released. And I guess that's when it really matters, right? Nonetheless, here is your first team offense and first team defensive selections. Quarterback, Caleb Williams. Running back, Damian Martinez, Oregon State. Running back, Bucky Irving, Oregon. Wide receiver, Rome Odunze from Washington. Wide receiver, Dorian Singer, USC. Tight end, Brant Keithy, Utah. Offensive lineman, Sataoa Lamia, Utah. Offensive lineman, Josh Gray, Oregon State. Offensive lineman, Troy Fatanu, Washington. Offensive lineman, Talisi Fauga, Oregon State. And offensive lineman, Keaton Bills, Utah. So, first team offense, you got 2 USC players. Caleb Williams, Dorian Singer, who played for Arizona last year. Interesting. Whomever made these picks, Oregon State, Utah, dominated first team. Oregon State with running back and two guys on offensive line. Utah has 2 guys on the offensive line. Okay. First team defense. Defensive line, Braylon Trice from Washington. Defensive line, Lea'atu Latu at UCLA. Defensive lineman, Brandon Dorlus, Oregon. Defensive lineman, Junior Tafuna, Utah. At linebacker, there's 3 of them. Jackson Sermon, California. Linebacker, Kareen Reed, Utah. And Darius Muasau, UCLA. You've got your safeties, Cole Bishop at Utah. Here comes USC's sole representative, first team, Kalen Bullock. And then your 2, and then you got 2 more defensive backs, Kaiton Oladapo, Oregon State, and Travis Hunter, Colorado. Colorado gets represented. As everybody knows, Travis Hunter was highly recruited, and Coach Primetime Deion Sanders took him away from Florida State when he originally enrolled at Jackson State. So sometimes I kind of wonder how much thought goes into these picks. And just to show how unbiased I'm going to be with this, I'm going to use Rayleigh Brown to make my point. Because he was first team, special teams, all-purpose back. But honestly, I know he had 6 touchdowns last year as a freshman. Okay, What did Rayleigh do last year to earn first team all purpose special teams? Just, not saying, look, this is obviously a projection, what they think he's going to do this year, and I probably agree he's going to end up first team. But if you're projecting based on what he did his freshman season, I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting selection. And I'll be honest, I have zero issue with the first team wide receivers. And we're going to circle back to that in the third segment of the show. You can see the rundown. First segment right now, we're talking about the all conference picks. Second segment, we're going to talk about we're getting closer to media day. Got some interesting stuff to go over there. And then, as you can see in the third segment, we're going to circle back to the wide receiver because I've got my first projected starter lineups. However, going forward right now, like I said, zero issue with the Pac-12 first team selection at wide receiver. Let's be honest. The conference is like stupid, mega rich with the type of screw you money that rich people have at the wide receiver position. So you really can't go wrong. But this is kind of ridiculous. Rayleigh Brown, Dorian Singer are the only two USC Trojans selected to either team or among honorable mention at the wide receiver spots. And that kind of means that Mario Williams, Taj Washington, and Brendan Rice are going to have to earn their way on to the postseason teams. Think about it. Mario, Taj, Brendan Rice, no consideration, not even for honorable mention, which is essentially third team. And look, let's be honest. If we're talking about first team defensively, Kalen Bullock was USC's only selection to the first team. He's coming back. He's a junior. Most anticipate he's going to leave for the NFL after this season. He was an All-American last year. And, he's definitely going to be a key if USC's defense is going to improve in 2023. And then Eddie Chapliski, the punter transfer from Arizona State, was the other first-team guy for USC. He and Aiden Sleep-Dalton, the freshman from Australia last year, they're going to compete for the starter role this year. All right, on defense, second team for USC. Two guys, linebacker, Eric Gentry, Mason Cobb. That's it. So here's the first team and second team offense. I'm going to go through these quickly. First team quarterback, Caleb Williams, no duh. Second team, Michael Penix. At running backs, we already went over first team. So second team, you've got Jaden Knott and Carson Steele. Jaden Knott's at Berkeley. Carson Steele transferred to UCLA. Interesting. Wide receiver, second team, Jalen McMillan, Washington. Jacob Cowing, Arizona. Okay. Tight end, backing up Brant Keithy, is going to be Benjamin Urasek at Stanford. Go figure. Stanford tight end. Okay. Went over the second team offensive line. You've got Jake Levengood, Oregon State. Man, the media loves Oregon State's offensive line, period. Justin Dietich, Jonah Monheim, Jordan Morgan from Arizona, Jarrett Kingston. So USC, they represented well on the offensive line in second team. Defensively, second team. Again, remember, I've already gone over the first team. Defensive line, you've got Brennan Jackson at Washington State, Ron Stone Jr., Washington State. You've got Van Fillinger from Utah. You've got Zion Tupoulo Fatui from Washington. Please, everybody, forgive me for butchering these names. You've got Brandon Lander at linebacker from Utah. You've got Mason Cobb, Eric Gentry, went over those guys. Defensive backs, at safety, another one, you've got Charles Smith-Wade from Washington State. Jabbar Muhammad from Washington will be backing up Kalen Bullock. And then your two cornerbacks, Craig Woodson, Berkeley, Evan Williams, Oregon. So, USC had 6 players named to the honorable mention list at their respective spots. Running back Austin Jones, He's back. He's going to be a key piece of this USC offense. Marshawn Lloyd. Look, I have a feeling he's going to be on the team at the end of the year as long as he stays healthy. First team, second team. Defensive lineman Bear Alexander got honorable mention. Same thing for Keon Bars. Reminder, 2021, he was all Pac-12 selection. Well, last year at Arizona, Jed Fish, he brought in a new defensive coordinator, which meant a new scheme, and that the learning curve kind of affected Barr's production, and he slid back a little bit as far as all Pac-12 is concerned. So let's see if Alex Grinch's scheme and Sean Nua can correct whatever ailed Kion last year. I have a feeling, based on those workout videos, he's coming locked and loaded. Dude's squatting like over 600 pounds. Like I said, pay attention to my starting lineup. And then you have his teammate from Arizona, cornerback Christian Roland Wallace. He is the other guy who made honorable mention for USC. Obviously, that experience at defensive back, meeting the Pac-12, seems to put a high value on experience. You know where else where you can find experience when you're looking for a job, or if you need to post a job? LinkedIn. LinkedIn is back. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for you and your small business. And that's why you want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. And it's really easy to use. I mean, you want to find a job, head on over to LinkedIn Jobs. The listings are like right there. It's also just as easy if you want to create a free job listing on LinkedIn. Once you add your job listing, you can then add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile. And that way it's going to spread the word that, hey, you are hiring. LinkedIn provides simple tools like screening questions, and that's going to make it easy for you to focus on candidates with just the right skills and the right experience so you can quickly prioritize who you like to interview and hire. Recruiting the right person for your team means essentially a better product. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus the leading competitors. So, LinkedIn Jobs, they're going to help you find qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. To post your job for free, terms and conditions do apply. So, Pac-12 Media Day, we're getting closer, a couple days away. If you're the Pac-12 Commissioner George Kliavkoff, serious question, and I'm saying this with sarcasm, but it's actually a serious question. I would actually consider calling in sick. Look, the SEC, they have 3 days to their media day. They're going on as I speak. The Pac-12, they squeeze the commissioner's State of the Union address, his deputies get a chance to speak, and then you got 12 Pac-12 head coaches, 24 players. Each of those, the players have to take 25 minutes between the both of them, and the head coaches get the same amount of time by themselves. That's it. They do that all in one day in the Pac-12. The Big Ten, I think you have a couple of media days. So while the SEC is talking about Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC while leaving the Big 12, this is what George Kliavkoff, the Pac-12 commissioner, gets to not talk about. He doesn't even have a TV deal to talk about. That's embarrassing. The Pac-12 will not announce a new TV deal this week, sources tell Yahoo Sports. Negotiations will likely extend into August. the league's year-long pursuit of a rights package. The conference holds its annual Football Media Day Friday in Las Vegas. No announcement is expected. Wow. Literally, just wow. You gotta wonder, how pissed off is the commissioner? And how much of that vitriol is directed at USC and UCLA for that matter? Look, I have a heart. Despite what people say, I care a little bit. I actually kind of feel bad for George. I still remember last year's Media Day and his promise, his pledge to treat the USC and UCLA student athletes with all their respect and yada, 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 yada. And then I also remember USC's first game at Utah in Salt Lake City and the officiating in that game. So, yeah. Anyways, I digress. I anticipate Commissioner Kliavkoff to be just as defensive as he was last year. He'll be standing up there, arms crossed, I'm sure, and be just as defensive times 10. I mean, I think his defensive radar, as far as questions being shot at him, high alert. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles the day. Here's an interesting thought going into Pac-12 Media Day. I think we know Caleb Williams will get the love and the respect that he's earned. But again, which other quarterbacks, again, quarterback-rich conference, is going to try and steal some of Caleb's shine? Remember, you got Cameron Rising, Utah. He hasn't lost to Caleb Williams yet. He's got a pretty confident attitude, I guess is one way of putting it. Michael Penix Jr. Many thought he should have been in New York last year for the Heisman ceremony. What about Grandpa Bo Nix up there at Oregon? Hey, here's a name to throw out there. What about Coach Primetime Deion Sanders' kid, quarterback Shador? For that matter, will Coach Prime, will he be the most quoted coach at Pac-12 Media Day? Or is Lincoln Riley still going to be the top dog? Look, we know Coach Prime is going to do everything he can to bring attention to his program, and he should. I would just tread lightly because, as I said, find me 3 wins on that schedule. Nevertheless, there will be a lot of cameras and microphones when it's his turn to talk. As you know, I'm a writer, a contributor over there on WeAreSC.com. Well, Eric McKinney, who is the chief editor, he trotted out a really fun fact over there on WeAreSC.com. So when you're done making this episode of Locked On USC your first listen, you know where to go. Did you know, the more you know, that the preseason pick as number 1 by the conference media has won the Pac-12 conference championship 6 times in the last 12 years. So they're right half the time. Flip a coin. Utah is the back-to-back conference champions. Before that, Oregon won it twice in a row. Can you believe? Yep, here it is, truth. No cap. USC hasn't been the media's preseason pick since 2017. By the way, USC beat Stanford in the title game that year. So, is Utah going to get the nod this year, or is this the year that USC finally gets that preseason number 1 pick? I have a feeling they're going to get most of the votes, but Utah will probably get. Actually, I think Washington. Let me check and see who gets the most first place votes. USC, Washington, or Utah. By the way, I'm still taking viewer questions, listener questions, suggestions. And actually, there's been some good ones. However, I actually like this one a lot. And it says, "Hi, Mark. Feel free to ask every coach and player not from USC and UCLA how it feels to reap what you sow. I like where this person's coming from. I think I might take some creative license and ask their thoughts about playing USC, possibly for the last time, without that neener in your face type of smirk that I think had that vibe, that energy behind that question. Like I said, I like the question. So keep suggesting them, keep sending them in. And like I said, if it's good enough to be used and I get the opportunity, I'll work it in. All right, as you can see, we're now into our third segment. Show's just rolling along. All right, so I've gone over the preseason all-conference selections. And look, USC's offensive line got a modicum of respect. 3 guys made second team. Oregon State, apparently they've got the best offensive line in the conference. But it wasn't just the offensive line that kind of got a little bit disrespected. I think USC's wide receiver room. So, Pac-12 Media Day, it's in Vegas Friday. I got here a couple of days early. I have some friends who live out here, wanted to catch up. And like I said, look, there's nothing going on around campus. Come out here to the desert where it's 110 degrees at 10 o'clock at night, hang out, eat some good food, whatever. Anyways, so I was having dinner with a friend, and this friend knows some people. Pretty connected. And we were talking about the different position groups for USC going into 2023. And this person convinced me, and for good reason, that the starting wide receivers might have a wild card starting on the outside. So, without any further ado, here's my starting offense and defense. Again, just the first team. I'm not giving my 2D, just the starters. And this is just the first of probably at least 3 that's going to have more adjustments as we work our way through fall camp that starts in a little over a week. Fall camp starts in a little over a week. Man, it feels good to say that. So again, here are just my starters heading into the first, before we even get to Pac-12 Media Day, which is on Friday, just a few days away. Quarterback, duh. It's going to be Caleb Williams. My starter at running back, if we just go one, Austin Jones. If we go dual back, obviously, I think it's going to be Austin Jones and Marshawn Lloyd. Offensive line. Okay. Left tackle, Jonah Monheim. Left guard, Jarrett Kingston. Center, Justin Dietich. Right guard, Emmanuel Pregnon. Right tackle, Michael Tarquin. Or they can flip the tackle spots. You can put Michael over there at left tackle. It's where he's been all spring. Put Jonah over there on the right side where he's played a lot. Tight end. It's going to be Lake McCree. And if they go H and Y, if Jude Wolfe is healthy, he's going to be out there. Here we go. Wide receivers on the outside. Brendan Rice and Michael Jackson III. And then on the inside, if you go 3, you're going to have to choose between Mario Williams and Taj Washington. If you go 4, both of them are going to be playing inside. Those are your starting wide receivers. Okay? If you disagree with me, let me know. Who do you think should be starting on offense? And who are you replacing? And tell me why. I'm going to flip over to the other side of the ball before we run out of time here. On defense, here's my starting defensive line. I mentioned Kion Barr's name earlier. Dude he's pushing some weight. He's going to be nose tackle right over the ball. My defensive tackle starter, Bear Alexander. I'm kind of going out on a limb here. Maybe I'm not. I think your starting defensive end is going to be Solomon Tuliaupupu. Solo. Rush end, Anthony Lucas. Your starting linebackers, Mason Cobb, Eric Gentry. My starting safeties, I'm going to go with Kalen Bullock, and I'm going Bryson Shaw in the box. My nickel starter, I got Jalen Smith as long as he's healthy. And then my starting cornerbacks, I'm going Damani Jackson and Jacoby Covington. So there it is. Those are my starters. What do you think? Disagree? If you do, that's great. That makes for a great discussion. Tell me who you would supplement. Tell me why. And again, we're going to be able to go into the too deep as we get into fall camp and through it, because we're going to have some more information to work with. So, Pac-12 Media Day, a couple days away. I'll be back with another episode of Locked On USC tomorrow, by the way. We're going to have some recruiting news for you. We'll find out who five-star wide receiver Mike Matthews chose. I gave you the reason why I think he's choosing Tennessee on yesterday's episode. Go check that out. I kind of make the argument and I explain why. And I think it'll make sense to you if you see it. So, until that next episode of Locked On USC, everyone, you know what to do.